Around and around we go. Where do we go? Nobody knows, except I do. And today we're going to talk about the biggest hurdles when moving abroad. Moving abroad is a big decision that is made with a lot of research, but not much experience. There are going to be things that you mess up on, there are going to be things that you wish you knew, and the things that you didn't know, the things that you wish you knew, is all going to accumulate into one big thing that's going to make your decision on whether you're going to stay or go. I'm going to try to be as transparent and clear as I can be because this is important. Most people, their first year is their make it or break it year. So, understanding what is to come is crucial for you to plan and understand the emotions that would come and that they're normal, though it isn't talked about as common as hot spots, things of that nature on the internet. Because the first year is your make it or break it year, I'm going to talk about the hurdles in form of a timeline in which it typically occur in the first year. I put them into two batches. Your first batch is your first 3 months. That's the most known one. That is the most popular one to talk about. Everyone has to start their living, moving. There are more resources on that. However, the second batch is one that I wish to shed more light on, and that is typically going to be your 3 to 6 months or your 3 to 9 months into moving and living abroad. Without further ado, let's get into it. Your first 3 months. These months are going to consist of your startup hurdles and other hurdles. Startup hurdles is just you trying to get your apartment signed, all the paperwork is done, you go through immigration, you get your lease, you get your phone number, you get your bank account, you sit down at your job. If you're working abroad, trying to make connections to doctors, facilities that you need while here. These are your tangible or task based errands to actually get you settled in. These are going to be the easiest to find solutions to because everyone has to go through this process. And with the age of the internet, everyone comes together as a community to just talk about it. However, the things that might trip you up aren't necessarily going to be the startup task, more so than the subtle hurdles or your intangible and non errand based hurdles. These hurdles are ones that you can't really avoid because they're a part of you, they're in you. It is your body's natural reaction to having to adjust to a new environment. And this includes your body trying to adjust to the air, any allergens, weather, movement, all can take a toll on you. The worst part about it is these are happening simultaneously as you're trying to complete every task. Not only do you have to deal with your physical body's reaction, you also have to deal with your emotional and mental reaction from your body as well. Because you're going into a new environment, it is very different from where you were before. Your mind is going faster. There's a lot of things that's going to happen that you're not going to process until you actually sit down. So you might become very overstimulated at that point. You might become overwhelmed. You're going to start maybe getting nervous or anxious because it's so many things going on. If you don't know the language, that adds on. Your brain isn't used to not knowing what's happening, not understanding where to go, not knowing the proper next steps because you're in a different culture and you don't want to mess up. That just creates a lot on the body, along with physical adjustment and the task that you're doing. Then you can talk to others and you could go through a cultural training and you might look at the internet and they'll tell you, well, all you have to do is do this. So you're trying to make notes to do all of this in your mind. And the result of this is that you're going to try to be over prepared. So you're going to try to go into your mind and recall every cultural situation that you have heard thinking it would apply in that moment. And whether it does or not, it does not take away the effect that it has on your body. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to put you into a mental overload because not only are you having to recall back those events, you're now having to learn new things, and you got to remember new things on top of the old things you're remembering. It can become too much. And you're also not going to give yourself the leniency that you need because you're like, I got to get this done. The government's giving me a timeline. I got to give myself a timeline. My job's giving me a timeline. My family needs to check on me. If I have dependents or a spouse, I got to make sure they're good. On top of the fact that I got to make sure I'm good. And how does good even count? You're going to start piling it up. After the first 3 months, I could tell you there are foreigners that are just like, I'm ready to go home. They're just ready to go. So, to kind of help with that, we first got to acknowledge that these feelings are natural, they exist. You're doing a very big thing. So, it just makes sense for you to have these emotions. Now, what can you do to help yourself overcome these hurdles? I would say before coming, do a little bit of research, not a lot. Try not to overwhelm yourself with like different possibilities, different opportunities, different cultural aspects because you're going to get used to that once you get here. The rules on the internet might be true for the whole country, but depending on the location that you pick, it might be completely different. Now you have all of this mental information and you can't use it. So, a little bit of research, try to get general information, general rules, and general conduct so that way you'll have some form of preparedness, but you're not over prepared. The next items I'm going to ask you to bring, I say bring some form of comfort and adjustment items. Depending on how far you're going, you might have to adjust your mental clock, your physical exercise routine, your eating habits, personal self care rituals. All of that can change. And trying to deal with that all at once can be a lot on the body. So I say having these items to help you during your transitional time are crucial. My example is when I moved to Japan, I bought a bed and a bed frame. Could I have stayed on the floor? Yes. Could I have bought a futon? Also, yes. But I knew this time period is going to be uncomfortable for me regardless. I wasn't going to be able to avoid it. And I was like, not only will I be going through all of the natural changes to occur, I'm now going to have to change how I sleep and how I want to sleep. I just said no. And so I took some money and I went and I bought a bed frame. After I bought a bed frame, I bought the mattress. Do I regret that? No, I don't. I actually am happy that I listened to myself because I knew I was going to be miserable any other way. I also brought bar soaps from Bath and Body Works and I brought it here to Japan as well because I knew I was going to miss the lotions from back home. I love Bath and Body Works. So I brought like maybe 4 bars of soap, all of which had different scents. One was champagne toast, into the night, beauty gingham. I loved them. I don't regret that either because while I was trying to find different soaps, if I did not like that scent, I just went and used the bar soap that I had. And it typically lasts me like a month or two. I had the scent on me and I was like, oh, this feels nice. I feel like I'm back at home. It helps. Little items help. So don't knock it. Also, having spices. If you're the type of person who loves eating certain spices, make sure you put that in your suitcase as well. When I got here, I knew the cooking style was different. I was open to it. I'm still open to it. But sometimes I miss home. I miss macaroni and cheese and collard greens. I want a Philly cheesesteak. pot roast, all of it, sweet potato pie, the whole nine. I know that it's different. They have yaki emu here, and it's still good, but it's not like a sweet potato pie. So I brought little seasoning packets. I think it was Lori's. And I got some Sazon from my mentor when she came back to visit. And it held me over. And I'm like, okay, I feel fine. Then when I got here later on, I was able to find different spices I would like, all while still being able to fully enjoy all of the Japanese food here. The different bento restaurants, their version of Chinese cuisine, their version of Italian cuisine. I didn't feel as pressured to having to adjust to it. So I was able to enjoy it more. Which then brings me to the last thing that you should do maybe before coming, and that is having no expectations. Depending on where you're at, you don't know how it's going to handle out. You don't know who you're going to meet, except for people who have a job, which does your coworkers. But it's all an adventure. And if you try to put an expectation on things, you're now just adding on another layer of stress. And that's not what you want to do at this point in time. It's already stressful. Having no expectations is the best route to go. Having some hopes and some to dos are fine. Make a little list of it, but don't try to force yourself to try to do it all once you get here. Now, some more options to help you overcome are finding a place that's similar to home. When you get homesick, if you get homesick, finding an area near you that would remind you of it, whether it's a beach that reminds you of your house, it's a city, it's an event. Finding something to hold you over would be fantastic. If you like jazz, go find a jazz area. If you like dancing, I'm pretty sure every country has either a dancing studio somewhere or a dancing event because they like to dance too. Finding a grounding area also relieves stress as well. And once you find your grounding area, it's easier for you to explore maybe different passions that you have. And when you have those passions, you don't have to explore it within the first 3 months, but it can hold you over and give you hope when you're already stressed. When it gets overwhelming, you could maybe fall into this passion that can translate. If you have a passion for jazz, here in Japan, there are different jazz bars. You could make a habit of just going on Instagram and finding different jazz bars and going to it. My little passion is aquariums. So, my goal is once I feel like I get overwhelmed where I'm at, I try to plan a trip to an aquarium. I've been to 6 or 7 different aquariums. All are different. All typically have the same type of animals with a little bit extra with penguins and dolphins, but it's usually all the same. But I still enjoy it. I don't know any of those animals' names, but I just love going to aquariums. I love seeing the fish. And that makes me feel very happy. And it holds me over at least for another week or two. Now, did I do that all within the first 3 months? No. Did I plan one aquarium trip within the first 3 months? Kinda. I picked a place and I said I was gonna go there. I didn't really give full details, but I was like, I'm gonna go to this aquarium. So I went to that aquarium. Which brings me into maybe another potential solution, and that is planning one small event to look forward to on a monthly basis. When you're just trying to keep doing tasks and work and work and work and work, whether you're at home spouse or you have a job, you're trying to go through that day. You're running yourself ragged. Finding one small event, whether it's 2 hours, 1 hour, a whole day, that is planned once a month, it does the body good. So if my one thing was finding aquariums, I'm going to take that day, I'm going to find an aquarium. And once I find the aquarium, I'm going to enjoy it. And then I might find a restaurant near where the aquarium is, and I'm going to eat there. Now, this is typically going to happen towards your 2 to 3 months in, but those things will help you to overcome the first 3 months. I don't know necessarily about your startup hurdles, depending on the country that you pick. If there's a way to have everything scheduled and giving yourself some free time in between trying to do each and every task, I would say go for it. That way, if you're giving yourself free time in between, you can either relax or use it as a buffer due to unforeseen circumstances. All right, with months 1 through 3 out of the way, we can talk about the secret hurdles. And those secret hurdles are typically months 3 through 9. Typically, because everyone knows there's going to be an adjustment period, more people have leniency and grace on themselves. Not as much as they should, but they do have it more. So within months 1 to 3, people just learn how to thug it out and get through it. Now, they feel as if once they get months 1 through 3 out the way, they're going to be completely fine. And that is where the biggest hurdle come into play. And it's, as I'm going to mention again, months 3 through 9. Just because you have settled into a place does not mean you have adjusted to the place. And just because you have adjusted to a place does not mean you are well adjusted to your destination. So I'm going to go through the differences between what is settled and what is well adjusted. Settled just means you had finalized your living space. You're locked in at the location that you're at. You have done all of the paperwork that is needed. You're in a physically stable area, but you could still be extremely stressed. You just know that you got all of the tasks done so that way you can fully live there without any legal ramifications or consequences. You are able to be acclimated to your environment, the area a bit more, and you can be comfortable, but that's like a question mark. Now, when you're well adjusted, you have some of the things of being settled, but you also have to be mentally secured, emotionally stable, and you're at peace with where your life is at the moment. You might not like how it is at this moment, but you're going to have a plan to get yourself from A to B, and you're just enjoying the process. If I want to be more complex about it, I believe that being well adjusted is a step up from being adjusted, and adjusted is just a step up from being settled. Settled means you're physically there, you understand it, you're in your environment, you're doing okay in that way. It means you understand cultural, there's some emotional things, and then well adjusted means you have fully passed by just understanding culture, but you're able to not just survive, but thrive in your environment. You're able to explore the things that you want, the things that you need. You understand how to get them. And if you don't know where to get them, you know the resources in which to look it up. And that's all that you could really ask for at that point. Now, to bring it back, typically being settled happens within the first 3 months. So the timeline for that is you're going to be busy with paperwork, you're going to be busy doing tasks. Time typically passes a lot of people by, but at the same time, it doesn't pass by fast enough. It's like an enigma. Now that you're there, the first 3 months kind of passed, you're excited, you're able to look into the future. You're like, oh, I passed by the dark tunnel. I can see the rainbow. It looks beautiful. You got more excitement, more hope, especially since you're more acclimated to your environment. The thing that they don't mention is typically within the first 3 months, a lot of things expire for you. So when people have grace, especially when they're local, It typically dries up within the first 3 months. They're like, you've been here for at least 3 months. You should know this by now. They think that you should have all the knowledge, all the etiquettes, this and the third. So that kind of comes to an end. Now your job's like, oh, we gave you the 90-day period because we didn't want to scare you away. Now that we know that you're here long term, we're going to add more work to you. Yeah, we're going to give you more responsibilities with or without the proper preparation needed. And all of the friends that you made within the first 3 months, they're going to go back to how their regular schedule was. Because you were new, they kind of took it as a responsibility to be like, oh, well, I got to show them a good time. I got to make connections with them. I'm going to give them the best experience. Once they're like, you're here for a while, I still got to go back to doing what I want to do. I got to go back to where my friends were. And though we are friends, I have a different set of friends. And you don't fit in over there. And I don't really want to hold your hand if you're not fluent in the language. I don't want to have to keep translating things back and forth to enjoy myself. So they start kind of backing away as well. So not only do you have a more intensive job, people's deadline, understanding, and grace with you expired, now your little community or support system, they're starting to dissolve. And at that point in time, reality hits you the hardest. That's when people truly start to feel like they're alone. You don't really know how to shake it. You don't really know how to overcome it because it's like, what do you do? It's whiplash. Few months afterwards, you got to make another big decision. If you're working, you got to figure out whether or not you're going to renew your contract. And if you're on a worker's visa, your contract help is basically tied to your visa. So if you don't renew your contract, you're most likely going to have to go back home. Don't even get me started if you're a jet and you're part of the Japanese exchange teaching program, because you have a shorter time frame to decide whether or not you're going to stay in the country. When you get here, you have maybe 3 months to adjust, and then you have 3 months to really try to figure out if this is meant for you, because in December you got to figure out if you're going to renew your contract for August. And albeit you just moved here in August, and any events that have happened, good or bad, will then come in to make the final decision. And thus, a lot of people start to leave. The hurdle's too much. And because they don't see themselves coming over and dealing with this another year, they just don't renew and they go home. I believe that these factors contribute to, people leaving early. I came up with some possible solutions. So the first thing I would advise is that you take a moment to breathe, to rest, and to readjust. A lot of people were doing a lot of ripping and running, and they weren't resting peacefully. They were just like, okay, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to keep doing it. I feel like after the first 3 months, give yourself a time period to rest. If you're going to sleep for a weekend, I think it's fine, but I'm not a professional counselor. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But trying to recoup from all the energy you've been exerting for the past 3 months is common. So that way you can get more energy so you can go do more things. Scheduling a rest day is normal and it should help you get yourself back on track. Now, after you rested up and you gained your energy and you got some strength, do a bit of self reflection. Don't overthink, but do a little bit of noting. What is it that you need out of this country? What is it that you want out of this country? Figure out what goals you want. What type of character do you hope to build out of this situation? And what type of adjustment is needed? To me, just write the first things that come to your mind. If it's only 5 things that come to your mind, write it down, put it on a piece of paper, put it to the side, And then once you rest up a bit more, you can come back and look at it and see if you still feel the same way. In the meantime, you can create a routine for yourself. The mind loves routine, so much so that you have a mental clock, you have a circadian system. Your body likes to have patterns and regulation. So, making a routine also helps your mind. It knows where to go next, it knows what it needs to do. And you can add in a slot like free time into your routine. That way, you could take that time to either go explore, you can go rest some more, you can go shopping, do a task, anything. But your mind already knows it's free time, do what I want. And then you can ask yourself, what do you want? Which goes into the next step or one of the other solutions, and that is finding things to explore. Take it little by little. I say find things that are within walking distance of your housing and explore there first. If you find activities that you like, do those. Then, when you get a bit more energy, you can expand the distance. So instead of it being maybe like a 15-minute walk, you don't mind doing a 30-minute walk and finding different things to do. After you do a 30-minute walk, you might do like a 15-minute drive somewhere. It's supposed to help you explore things and still find enjoyment in them. I'm going to cite what I do. I go to aquariums and I find aquariums that are close to me. So when I first started looking into my passion of aquariums, I was looking at aquariums that were near my house. There weren't as many, so I spread it out. When I had enough energy, I went and I took an hour train ride to whichever distance. And so then I went, I sat, I enjoyed the aquarium, I looked at the seals or the fishes, and I started to plan looking for other aquariums. Right now, I have a goal to go to the Izumito Sea Paradise in Atami or the Enoshima Aquarium. I got something I'm looking forward to. It gives me a bit of hope. When I'm frustrated at my job, I'm just like, you only got this amount of time before you're able to go to the aquarium. The light at the end of the tunnel. Another crucial thing to acknowledge is that you need a support system. You don't just need one where you're at, you also need your at home support system. If you have a strong at home support system, I would say you need a strong in person support system. That way, you're able to talk about things with other people and get the assistance, and maybe they know resources to help you get by. Everybody needs community, whether you believe it or not. Everybody wants to matter to somebody. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be heard. You want to be understood. And you need other people for that to be done. So trying to just do it off by yourself isn't as effective as you getting with other people. Now, how to make friends, how to build support systems, I'm still learning that now. Sometimes you just got to take a chance in the dark. Sometimes it just comes to you. It's just a phenomenon I really can't explain. Once I'm able to, I'll try to talk about that in a separate episode. But having a blended support system would be the best option for you. So not only can you get reassurance from back home, you're also getting reassurance where you're at. And the last thing is give things your own personal touch. I know this is kind of counterinductive with the American corporate culture, which is like, don't bring anything, don't add anything. I say it's slightly different when you're abroad, not because they're going to keep you around, but how do I say this? Is grounding. That's how I'll say it. It is a very grounding tactic because now you have a piece of yourself in this area. And it doesn't mean that you believe you're not replaceable or you're full fledged on attached, but you're able to say, this is me, this is mine's for now, and what is mine's for now I'm going to make the most of it. And that is a mindset that you should be able to carry throughout your term living abroad. You might not be here next year. You might not be here 2 years from now. You might be here for the rest of your life. You don't know. But what you do know is that while you're here, you're going to make the most of it and you're going to make it your own. And that is what you should be asking yourself when you feel like you're in doubt, to not only just help you understand who you are, but also help you overcome these hurdles. We're now at the end of this episode. Round and around we go. Where did we go? We went and we talked about hurdles for moving abroad. Next episode, I will be talking about how your support system matters. So I'll see you around.